Um, what do I do now? This is the motor in my best tractor. I opened this up because it was knocking. I was never expecting to find that, especially since there's no grease right here, where these two bolts have seemingly penetrated the block. Alright, well, some dedicated viewers of the channel may know what this is. This is the tractor that I fixed in the first video on the channel. And since then, I found the motor is sadly shot, as you probably saw in a clip before this one. But this is my most used tractor. So, I need something to put in its place. Well, that's where this comes in. Me-twin 20 horsepower Kohler. I've had this running, it runs pretty good. Kind of. I still need to go through the carb again, but... And then it also has this huge deck. 48 or 50 inch, I'm not quite sure yet, versus 42. I will have to take some mounts off to make it fit, but... I mean, Craftsman used the same frame to build almost all their machines for 30 years, if not more. I mean, I'll show you, but once I get the motor out of that, all of this will be like basically the same, all the holes and everything. I was able to pull the single cylinder motor in here out, but I ain't gonna be able to pick that up myself. So that's where this comes in. And that's also why I'm in a different building right now. I'm in my granddad's big workshop. Either way, let me get started on this. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are you pulling a good motor out of this machine? Well, that's because it's gone through 2 transmissions within a month. And I'm sick of putting them in. So, yeah. And of course, it doesn't have a hood for this. And if you know that these Craftsman plastic hoods, if you don't have a hood, you ain't getting one. So you just might as well forget having one. But yeah, that's why I'm parting this out. And I mean, just look at the difference. Plastic. Metal. I'd rather save this one. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours. I got the deck off of it. I got most of the electrical disconnected. I'm planning to just use this wiring harness, like pull the motor with the wiring harness. Of course, I'm gonna have to drill a much larger hole to mount that huge key, and I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do for that. The PTO. And there's 3 wires going up under the machine back here for some reason. But there's only 2 in the seat dead man switch. So, but either way, getting close to being able to pull this thing. Throttle cable, motor mounts, make sure that all the electrical is disconnected, and we're ready to go. Okay, well, it's been another 3 or so hours. I've got the old wiring harness out of this, the deck out, just about everything that we're not going to need out of the way. I've got the wiring harness from this all disconnected on top of the motor so I can hopefully pull it out with it. And then, of course, the deck is off. The filthy gas tank is exposed, but yeah, this is what we'll be using. Get rid of the gallon-sized tank. But I think I'm ready to start lifting up on this. Okay, I might not be able to film for most of this because I got to make sure the wiring harness stays intact, but here we go. Well, it's out. That was much easier than I was thinking it was going to be. Crazy to think that having a 2-ton crane actually helps when pulling an engine. Either way, I got to get that backed up and this over here, or closer to over here. Alright, well, it's been a while. I've had lunch, and of course, now that I put the motor in, the new steering shaft gets here. Of course. But either way, the old one, you can maybe see down in there, is pretty worn out. So I'll put this one in, and the steering should no longer pop, and the wheel should turn a bit more. Let me demonstrate real quick. That's as far as they'll turn before pop. Hopefully that fixes that. And I also brought the hood up, put it on, and it fits just fine. Okay, let me get that installed. Well, here's the old versus the new. Pretty big difference. And apparently you gotta take the whole thing out of the tractor to replace it, but it wasn't that bad. But yeah, now I get to put it all back together. Also, one thing I'll point out real first is, so how it sits is, this sits inside of right here, and inside here, which you can't get to if it's assembled, you have to take it all apart. There's a tiny, tiny bolt, which I have lost. Let me find it. There it is. At least on this model, it's covered with this white lubrication, and it sits in here and screws into the bottom of this shaft. The book said 5/8, I think, but this was a 3/8. So, yeah. Well, it only took an hour and a half, and it was a huge nightmare, but by using the wheel right now, as you can see, I turn it all the way one way. There's still a little bit of gear left. Turn it all the way the other way. There's still some teeth left on this side, which means this thing is finally adjusted. One thing I never thought about is maybe trying to make sure I don't get the alignment off, but it did, and so that's what the last hour and a half of my life has been, is fixing that. Completely reassembling it, putting it back on, finding out it's off, pulling it off, adjusting it, putting it back on, finding it's off, and then repeating. But it's finally done. I can put the steering wheel back on and then get to probably putting the gas tank in here. The one that's over there and you can't see right now. Man, that took a lot of work though. Finally. Well, I'm back. It's the next day. I think I've just decided I am going to make a new wiring harness, because I'm going to have to, I don't even know how I can make a hole for this to sit in this metal dash. It's not like I got a drill bit that just makes rectangle holes. And then I'm going to have to blast a huge hole to mount this, and that right there. Or I could make my own wiring harness, use the old ignition barrel, and not have to modify the dash, and figure out a way to make this fit somehow. It won't be easy, but I'm literally putting this is the lawnmower equivalent of putting a Bugatti engine in I don't know what, you can figure out what, but yeah, there's gonna be stuff like that has to happen. But either way, I also did a test fit on the deck to make sure there were no problems. I can literally just use these old mounts right here, and they fit just fine. Comes up to the stops perfectly. Kind of knew it would, just wanted to make absolutely sure. I also converted these to use the John Deere. These are basically just an older John Deere style deck wheel, like off a 300 or 400 series tractor. There's that. But I actually need to put the gas tank in today, which means I gotta take the deck back off, but I do need to put the clutch on as well, so yeah. Still quite a long ways from actually driving it and being able to use it, but made some good progress yesterday. Alright, well, I got the back panel off, got the fuel tank cleaner. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than it was, and I've got it installed. A few things I would like to change, but I think it's fine. Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you know how we're doing in another hour or so. Got the fuel line ran. I got the clutch installed. Let me get some light for you. Got the anti-rotation bracket installed. I got everything cleaned up back here. That's worth cleaning while I'm in here. And I think I'm ready to put the fender pan back on. Also, I just want to show you something real quick. So off of the Craftsman lt1000 this came off of, here's the seat. It's cracked, it's coming apart. And when I first got it, it was hanging off. I glued it back on. It's in pieces basically. And that's, you know, every modern tractor, the seats just always fall apart. Versus the seat that was on this tractor, which I'm putting back on. It's perfect with the exception of a scratch up there, but I mean that's from, you know, something scratching it. That's not from just weather destroying it, the elements. Quality, not quality. All right, well, it's been many hours. I got the deck back on. There is one issue where the belt is hitting the lifter or whatever you call it. I can't remember. I got the choke and throttle hooked up. I had to use this throttle cable because the old one didn't reach. And I got the choke hooked up. There was this little like plug thing right here, but it's just. But yeah, after pulling that out, the choke fits in that perfectly. So yeah, there we go. And then I think I got the throttle set right. Have to check. But making some good progress. And also, this right here, this anti-rotation bracket, or at least it now is, this originally was to stop the belt from falling off the pulley on the when I had the other engine in here, but now that I've got a clutch in here, it actually fits as an anti-rotation bracket with no modification. So Craftsman really did use almost all the same parts to build all of their tractors for a long time. Also, let me close the hood. My other bagger is even bigger, and you might notice that there's a bag missing out of the middle. The big hitch I have in the back hits the center bag, and those are solid bags, so it doesn't work. But my other bagger has fabric bags, and it doesn't take up too much space. It's just, since those are solid bags, they don't flex at all. But yeah. Bet you never seen a Craftsman lt1000 with a 20 horsepower V-twin Kohler and a 48-inch deck. And a big triple bagger, which I'm going to have on there. It's been a while since I worked on it, but I got the axle that was in this pulled out. And now it's night and day, the difference between the two. It's a lot stronger than this. Yeah, I know that looks stronger, but picking this up, pretty heavy. Picking this up, nowhere near as heavy. But I mean, it's understandable. This tractor came with a massive engine in it, so it's obviously it's going to have a much stronger front axle that's taking the weight of that huge motor. And the deck also, you know, partially mounts to that. So yeah, put that in here, and that should also probably help the steering a little bit as well. Alright, I got it all installed and got it greased up, and as you can see, there's a lot less play. The new steering shaft helped a bunch, but a new axle that wasn't worn down to heck and back, you know, since, I mean, it had worn out that motor, so it's been through the life of an entire engine, which I'm just guessing it's like 2,000 hours maybe. Just totally random guess. Could be more or less. Yeah. Steering is much, much better now. I may still get the poor man's power steering kit, which is basically just a couple of thrush bearings, I think. Maybe I'm not saying that right, but either way, just look up poor man's power steering kit for lawnmowers on Amazon. You'll see what it is. Yeah. One day I'll finish procrastinating though and actually get the wiring done. Alright, so it's been a little while and I'm not really going to get much else done, but got a new amp meter in here since I shattered the old one. This one actually tells you how much it's reading, and you can see it, unlike the old one. And I got a new PTO switch. I need to figure out where to put it. That'll be interesting. I'm wondering if I can fit it right here, maybe. I don't know. That's an adventure for a little later. But yeah. I think this, either Saturday or Sunday, I will finally get around to wiring up this thing. I've got everything I think I need right here. Yeah. Alright. I've got all the wiring that I need to hook up just to crank, and in theory start, and shut down. So, let's test that. First start attempt on All Reliable with the new motor. I just realized there's no power to the solenoid, the fuel solenoid. So yeah, I forgot about that somehow. Maybe if I just choke, it'll run. I want to see it drive, really. That's what I want to see the most. I just need to hook up that fuel solenoid. But yeah, here we go. Alright, I got some gas in the tank and I got the fuel solenoid hooked up. Let's see if it'll start and run. Is it charging? Okay, yes. Why you don't want to continue running? Well, maybe it was about to prime. Charging. switch ain't hooked up. Alright, well, it took some experimenting, but... Oh, wait, hang on. There. Stay open. I got it. Take some pliers and go like this. Hang on. We got power. And then, if I flip the switch, which I... Hang on. So, there we have it. If you're ever wondering, it's on this switch, it's those two right there. It's all you actually need for the deck to work or to engage whatever you're hooking it up to. But yeah, I can't do it one-handed. This just fascinates me though. Either way, figure that out. So now I can get back to doing this. Motor turns the blades. You might even be able to see it. Maybe. I don't know if y'all saw anything, but yeah, there we go. I know exactly how everything needs to be wired. Just need to make it neat, to say the least. Deck test number 1. Alright, well, I think it's about time I go into detail why I chose to fix this tractor instead of the other. Well, this was the first tractor that I ever bought, so there's one. 2, this has the Tecumseh Peerless gearbox in it. Out of all the stupid things Tecumseh did, they could make a good transmission, and that's one of them. In that other tractor, it had the Tough Torque version, I think, if I can remember right. And the back tires were stuck onto the original transmission shaft. You know, just the wheels, when they rust, you can't get them off. It's just impossible. Those were, the tires that were on it were really small tires off of Poulan. Either way, that's just kind of why I decided to save this instead. I've got the carb and the chemical dip right now. It ran pretty good, but I figured I could make it run a little bit better, so that's why it's disassembled right now. I was wondering when I took the carb off why the choke was slightly close, and I just realized, well, it's just because that was open slightly. Of course, this seat is coming apart, so I'll just put the original seat back on. That was a little bit more comfortable, but 180 bucks for a new one, and I ain't got that. This was my main tractor for a year and a half. I used it for a lot of stuff. I might play a couple clips now, stuff I used it for. The other tractor would have been cool and all if I had fixed it because it had the foot controls, but again, it didn't have a good transmission in it. I wouldn't have been able to make that one fit in it, I think. I might have been able to, but I doubt it. This is literally all the grass that we have to cut right now. There you have it. Craftsman lt1000. revived for the second time. So if y'all are wondering why this hitch back here is all the way it is, when you don't have the bagger on, this acts as a pretty good bumper for the rear. Obviously, this right here is a lot stronger than the original hitch up under there. That's how it's put on here, by the way. And then you can pull a trailer with it, and you can also hook on to stuff higher than the axle, which gives you a lot more traction. So let's get this out of here. But yeah, this is real simple to build. You just need a double bagger bracket mount, and then you need one of these, which you can get on Amazon for like 20 bucks. Works pretty good.